Hi and welcome. I'm John and this is Unique Wargaming Terrain. Guys, welcome back. This is the weekly Wednesday Wargaming questions and answers. So for everyone that's new, this is an off the cuff video, guys. I record it and upload it. There is no editing skills. You don't see my fancy intro symbol at the beginning. I do have a transition button, so if something happens outside or there's, something happens that it's out of my control, I can just hold the film in. Lights go on again. I can hold the film in and then just carry on once it's gone. These weekly Wednesdays are essentially a Q&A. You guys ask me questions, I answer them. They are primarily model focused and it is 99.9% of the time GW stuff. There is some terrain questions from time to time. There is some questions about, my videos and stuff that I've done, and sometimes information about myself and what's going in and on around the workshop. So let's get started. Right, just to remind everyone, I'm still doing commissions, Let's Builds, painting and custom terrain pieces. Now Let's Builds, you might not have the time or space to build the models. Give me a shout, I do commission work on that. Painting, now painting, there's 3 different types of painting that I offer. First one is battle ready standard, which means I take it up to the stage where it's ready to go on the tabletop. So if you watch any of my painting videos, you'll see where I take it to a certain stage and then I'll say, right, this is battle ready, but we're going to go further. I can take it up to battle ready standard. Then for you, you can just take it away and wash it and, edge highlight and dry brush and whatever else you want to do to it. Or I can take it past battle ready stage. And custom terrain pieces. But if you haven't seen any of the terrain videos I've done, guys, you need to go check them out because they're absolutely fantastic. There's a crazy one on the go at the moment. The problem I've had with it, the weather's been very cold. So I actually, when I used the filler, I then put once that dry, about 4 days later it was dry, I painted it undercoated black. And then went to put some base colours on it yesterday. And the little pockets were still, of the black paint was still wet. Not soaking wet, just wet enough to get on the brush. So unfortunately at the moment, and this is the same this time of year, every year, things like filler and paint, not for models, but the acrylic paint I use for the terrain, take a lot longer to dry. So that terrain build should have been finished, if this was summertime, that would have been finished within a week. Now, because it's this time of year and it's how cold it is, it's just taking a lot longer. We actually have a question to do with storing terrain in a space like this outside. The question is, I did some terrain from one of your videos, absolutely easy, fantastic. Thank you for showing us that. But I left it for a couple of weeks, and when I came back, there was a bit of mildewy mold growing on it. How can I stop this from happening? Now, if you have a hobby space inside the house, you haven't got, the only thing you have to worry about is dust, which is a little brush. You get a big makeup brush and just brush it off. The only other thing you have to worry about is a spider coming along making a web in here. That's it. Not many houses would end up with wood lice or stuff like that in it, but just insect things like that might make a little mess of there. But that's the same thing you have to worry about. It's not very. But when you're outside space like this, it is the damp here and the cold. It's not even damp. It's just cold. It's not too bad. It's just certain times when you're waiting for something to dry, like filler, it will take longer. It will dry, it will just take longer, and it's a pain in the backside. For me, because I want to get a terrain video done every 7 to 10 days. And I think that's been like a week and a half, 2 weeks now. It's just taking longer, and don't worry, it's about 75% finished. Just one piece needs a bit of work done to it. It's annoying, but to store it safely outside like this probably would be, so I've gone off track now, sorry guys. If you're new to the channel, I do waffle on quite a bit. Get yourself some storage boxes, some bubble wrap, and just wrap it in bubble wrap. Put it in the storage box when you're not using it. The storage box will give it protection, and the bubble wrap will keep it so it's not being affected by the cold. Or if it does get affected by the cold, it's not going to be that much. Now, to have mildewy bits growing on it means that it's probably got damp from the cold. So again, that storage box will protect it. With that said, try not to get yourself any sort of wooden cabinets or anything like that, because the cold damp. I say damp. It's not really. It's hard to explain. Everyone will say it's damp, but it's not really a damp. It's more cold moisture, or moisture in the cold, that affects it. Okay, if that makes any sort of sense, because that will affect the wood and make the wood start to go. I mean, I've got a wooden frame here, but it's treated wood, so it is. So far, it's perfectly fine. But things like this bad boy, yeah, it's a black plastic storage reckon. Perfect. They've got, if you see all stored at Studio Tour, there's big metal cabinet there that holds stuff. They've got a metal desk here. There's a metal desk behind me. Actually, no, it's not metal. That's an old wooden chest of drawers. I took the drawers out and just used it as a desk. But again, if that starts to break down on me, it cost me nothing, because it was to be thrown out. So, you just, storage box is the way to go. But just be careful and mindful of wooden stuff. Now, you can also get a dehumidifier, and what that does, that will, if you don't know, that will draw in moisture. And in the top layer, there's little balls, and as the moisture goes into there, it fills up. The balls start swelling, and as they swell, they push against each other and pushes the water down to the bottom. That's the way to go. But I would go storage box and those, to be honest with you. There's no point getting a heater and putting a heater in there, because one, you're wasting money on the heater, which for 4 or 5 months of the year is when you're going to be using it. The money you spend on that and buying the gas cylinders and everything else, you might as well buy storage boxes. I hope that helps. Any more questions to do that, just give me a shout and let me know. Because one other thing I've noticed with, not everything, but sometimes if there's an extreme cold, like extreme snap cold, sometimes the expanding foam will crack. But fortunately for me, when it has cracked, it's been on a piece of terrain that's made to look like rock. So as it's cracked, it just looks like rock. It still looks as what it's meant to be. So it's not, to be honest, if that happens and it's on a piece of terrain that you've spent virtually nothing to make, as long as you can still play games with it, it's okay. 6 months time, you remake it, or you're just aware of what happens with it. So you got space in the box, but there's not enough space to leave that out. Then because you know what I mean. I'm stopping myself here because I'm waffling on too much, guys. Sorry. Okay, there's a question here which was posted up last week. I believe it was Cross from Creative Terrain. Do you clear coat your models after painting, and if so, how do you do it? I used to. Here's what I used to do. I'll tell you what I used to do, and I'll tell you why I don't do it now. I used to paint the model up and use Games Workshop's hard coat spray, leave that for a day or so to dry. Then I used to get the spray can of the wood varnish gloss, and what I used to, it's in a blue can. I used to get from Home Base, so like a hardware shop. But it's in a blue can, and it has like a picture of a chest of drawers on it or something like that, and that's what it's for. It's just to spray down the wood. Now the reason I did that way is because if I sprayed it straight onto the model, the wood varnish now, sometimes it would bubble the paint, not destroy it, but just there'd be a few little bubbly bits, and I'd be like, oh, hold on. So if I give it the hard coat first of all, and then that, it worked fine. And the hard coat on its own, sometimes I found it left like a little white powdery effect, which I didn't like. So when I put the varnish on, that went. Now the reason I don't do it anymore is there's twofold to this. when I first moved to the Republic of Ireland, I couldn't get my hands on it. So I just said, you know what, I just won't do it anymore. Because before, the models used to be lead. So when you pick them out, ting, 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 and you start chipping them. That's why I was doing it a lot. But I couldn't find this. I said, you know what, I'll just have to be more careful with models. Of course, I find it everywhere now. Now that I've decided not to use it, and I've painted heaps of models without using it, now I find it everywhere. But the second thing is as well, most of the models now are plastic. Very rarely will you buy a new model and it's lead or it's a metal. It's usually plastic. Now don't get me wrong, I do still have, you know, metal models here, but I know because I had the knowledge of them knocking against each other and chipping each other, I won't be picking up a handful of them. I'll pick them up one at a time, two at a time, you know, something like that. That's why I don't do it anymore, because they're plastic and because I couldn't get hands on it first of all, and now I can. It's too late. I hope that answers your question. I don't like the varnish, the gloss on the matte coat in the pot with the brush. I don't like that. I think with the spray is a lot better, because the spray can get into all the nitty-gritty parts that your brush may miss. One other thing as well with the gloss varnish, the wood one, when I used to put the stacked grass on the models, if you come in when you're spraying it, the wood gloss, if I came into the stacked grass a bit closer than normal, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes what would happen is, as it dries, the varnish on the stacked grass, it would make it stand up perfectly as well, but sometimes when it dried, there's little like balls, like droplets of the varnish. So some of you go, what? When you look at it, it looks like dew on the grass. It looks absolutely fantastic. Now I don't have it on all models, I only have in a few of them. But yeah, it's you miss little effects like that from do something really simple and easy. But on the whole, it just means that, one, I'm not spending that extra money for varnish. Two, I'm not having to spend more time for models sitting here waiting to dry. But anyway, I'm waffling on. The Abaddon, the spoiler, great model. You made it look so easy to build. When would he be in the vote? That's a good question. Now, I don't really want to put him in the vote. I tell you why. If anyone goes, oh, boo. No, I don't want to put him in the vote because there are a few colours I want to get to paint with him, paint on him. Okay. And the second thing is, when the vote goes on, I know by Friday afternoon what's won the vote for, you know, Monday, or Friday afternoon I'm doing a dice roll to see which is won the vote for Monday's painting video. Most of the time I work Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so it only gives me an hour or so in the evening to do stuff on it. Now I think him himself is such a detailed model and it's such a centerpiece model. I don't want to be painting him and rushing him. If I paint him and it ends up taking me 2 hours to paint him and he's fantastic, then great. If I'm under a little bit of pressure to get him done by Monday, I think that I'd mess things up, and I don't want to do that. I want to be able to spend time getting him done and making him look, you know, they'll look great anyway, but I want him to look that little bit extra. Now I've got the week's holiday coming up, so I'm planning, there's a lot of things planned for that week. One of the things planned is to maybe try and get him painted, but at the same time saying that, there are a few big models for me to build and they're going to take a long time, so I want to try and do them in that week. I say that, but I'm waiting for them to arrive. I don't want to tell you what they are in case it doesn't arrive until afterwards and I've lost that time to, you know, I'll know when it comes to that week of holiday. If they've arrived, then I will go, let's build on those. But again, they are big models that I'm probably going to need a bit of time to paint. So and I'm not in a mad rush for the Chaos Space Marine army at the moment. I do have Chaos Space Marine models here to paint, and I do have some to finish sorting out down here. But I'm not in a mad rush for them. Now, I have actually run out of Chaos Space Marine backpacks. I did actually ask them in the model shop, but they don't sell them separately, which is a pain in the backside. But I do have, for some bizarre reason, an abundance of Space Marine backpacks. So I'm going to be gluing some of those onto the Chaos Space Marines, then adding chains and spikes and all that sort of stuff, just to convert them into, so they look the part. But with that said, I've got an abundance of Marine backpacks. I've got a little pot here. I'm just going to have a little quick glance. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. There's about 15 in here without looking anywhere else. But I've got about 40 firstborn Space Marines to put into units. So I may not even have the backpacks. So I might have to go on to order some from the Heresy and see if I can actually put them on. They should be fine. They should be perfectly fine. But yeah, I hope that answers that question. Now I'm going to bring you down and show you the vote, what we're voting on this week. I can't even remember what 2 trays were last time, because last week was the Imperial magazine, so I picked a model and painted it, and it's actually had some amazing views on it already, which is fantastic. Some great comments. Thank you guys very much. So if it is one of the boxes or both boxes that were there the last time, I apologise. I just can't remember. I'm going to bring you down and show you. And the rules for the voting are simple. You chuck a comment on this video to tell me you want to vote for X, Y, Z. Okay? And whatever has the most votes come Friday afternoon, then I will start prepping that video and sorting that video for Monday. And that's what we painted on Monday for Monday's painting video. If in the event of more than one thing getting the same number of votes, I do a dice roll off. And recently it has been a dice roll off. So, and as I always say, if you vote on something and it doesn't win, don't panic, because everything has to be painted. So I'll bring you down and show you what's up to voting. Right, let's start here. We have a Space Marine Chaplain on the left. We have an Apothecary on the right. We have a First Sister, which I think she's a Canoness, I think. We have Demonettes. We have a Ancient in Terminator Armour. That's what he's going to be. He was a Space Marine Captain, but he's going to be an Ancient in Terminator Armour. We have a converted Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer. We have the Striking Scorpion Phoenix Lord. We have a Librarian with full sacks. Dire Avengers. Demonettes. The Giant. Or the Gargant, I think it's called now. Over here we have a Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer Slanesh. Ra. Swooping Hawks. We have an Ancient, Space Marine Ancient, or Blade Guard Ancient I think it is. We have the Bloodletters, all based on 32mm bases, so they are good to go. We have a Nurgle converted Nurgle Chaos Space Marine Sorcerer. We have this Space Marine Librarian. We have Zodgod Waltznugger, is that his name? The Orc dude. This crazy ass person. And we have this guy here, this Captain. There is also a wild card. Now, what's the wild card? Who knows? You'll find out if it gets voted on. So, simple but guys, chuck comment below, let me know what you want me to vote on. If you have any questions for me, chuck comments below, and I'll either answer them straight away for you, and then address that question next week, Weekly Wednesday, just so everyone else can hear that. There is no silly questions. So if you're new to the channel and you think, oh, I can't ask this because it's silly, there is no silly questions, okay? We all started somewhere and we all had to learn bits along the way. And it also goes into the point of, if there's a question I've already answered, last week, week before, 6 weeks ago, doesn't matter. If you're new to the channel, ask the question and I answer it. If you don't want to chuck a comment below because you think, oh, people are going to, take the mickey out of your question, you can go over to Unique Wargaming Terrain Facebook page. There is a messenger button on there. You can click on that and send me a direct message, and I'll answer you and, again, address the question. And if you send me a question that way, which many of you do, then I won't say, oh, this person's asked me this or that person. Just because I just feel that if you don't it that way, you don't want people to know who's asking, which is fair enough. So guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Click on it, turn your notifications on, because it helps the channel grow in a massive way, and it pushes me that step closer to be able to do this full time, which means me doing this full time means I can bring you lots more content. When I say lots more, you're probably talking 4 to 5 videos a week. There could be battle reports, there could be painting videos, there could be less builds, and it also put me in a position where I could take, instead of having to wait for a week's holiday to do big builds, I could do a big build. You know, you think of some of the big builds that there are, like the Rogal Dawn and you know, the big Astromeda battle tanks, not even to mention things like the Silent King or Magnus the Red, or you know, things like that. And then you could look at that and go, actually, that's very easy to build, or it may not be easy to build, but he makes it look easy. Let me follow his steps, and you know, that kind of way. So guys, hit the buttons for me, because again, I'm just waffling away to myself. Hit the buttons for me. Smash the thumbs up button on this video, please guys, and I'll see you next time. Take it easy, guys.